Today, a degree is not viewed as highly as it used to decades prior. All your life, you were probably told that you needed to go to school, study, work hard, meet assignment deadlines, graduate to increase your odds of getting a good paying job. And that's what you did. You followed the rules to a T. But then in 2023, something unexpected happened. AI. The rise of AI completely took the world by storms, changing and transforming the labor market. In fact, according to Statistics Canada and the Labor Market Information Council, it was reported that between 2022 to 2025, there has been a huge discrepancy between the job availability for entry level jobs for bachelor degree holders in Canada and the number of people that were getting a bachelor's degree who were between the ages 15 to 24. So, with all the data, you're probably wondering why you went to school and whether or not it was all worth it. What was the point of allocating all those funds into your studies if at the end you're still struggling to get a job? Even if it seems like getting a degree was a waste of your time and money, in this video, I'm going to provide key reasons why I believe your degree holds more value than you think. And my hope is that you consider by the end of this video some of the educational benefits that you may have overlooked when it comes to your degree. But before we get to that, I quickly want to make a key point here that in this video, the context is going to be related to a situation where you find yourself almost having paid all your student loan. And the worry isn't about the fact that you accrued debt specifically, but it's mostly because you find yourself struggling to get a job, right? I believe that the whole phenomenon of accruing huge amounts of student loan debt is a phenomenon that needs to be studied thoroughly in a separate video. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to just focus on the job market and the correlation between the job market and the degree. Before we get to the key reasons, hi, I'm Lonimi Maseko, and on this channel, I make self-development content. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope you stick around. So one of the reasons why I believe your degree holds more value than you think is that through a degree, you learn to foster your critical thinking skills. Now, I assume you may have probably heard this before, but hear me out. According to the McKinsey Institute in 2017, it was reported that more than 375 million jobs could potentially be replaced by AI in 2030. 8 years later, Statistics Canada also reported that the number of AI job replacements have been increasing, especially in entry-level jobs such as that are related to fields such as data science, business, finance, research, policy, etc. But does this mean that your degree holds no value? No! And you want to know why? Because we have something that AI doesn't, and that is critical thinking. In fact, critical thinking is becoming a lost art in today's society. It has become so compromised that people are relying on AI to synthesize large amounts of complex information rather than processing information by themselves. In a world that constantly wants to control you, whether through the way you think or through your consumerism patterns, honestly, I view that critical thinking is like a weapon and an antidote that you learn to harness in a world that constantly wants to control the way you think. Through critical thinking, you're taught to read a lot of peer-reviewed articles, books, journals from researchers or authors that have walked different walks of life. Either they live in different countries, they grew up in a completely different culture than you, or they completely grew up in a different environment from you, And not only does that enhance your compassion, but it also allows you to develop the skill of critical thinking. So at this point, you may be thinking, okay, Lonnie, me, that sounds fair and dandy, but we live in a society where the internet is available and accessible at all times. Why do I need to go to school if I can easily get education and information about a topic in the comfort of my own home? To that, I say you raise a good point. But one of the advantages of getting a degree is that it takes years to complete. And for a skill like critical thinking, which is a skill that takes a lot of time to develop, I'd say that before you get a degree and you go to school, you are taught for years how to develop this critical thinking skills. And the average time it takes for a person to complete a bachelor's degree is between 4 to 6 years, which is more than enough time that you need to learn to develop your critical thinking skills. Another point I want to raise about critical thinking is that when you go to school to get a degree and you're developing your critical thinking skills, one of the benefits of that is that you learn how to write a lot of essays. You learn how to create sources as evidence to support your main thesis. You also learn how to spend a lot of study hours by writing essays that help you not only to improve your vocabulary, enhance your reading comprehension skills, but also synthesize large and complex information. You also learn how to debate. You also learn just new information about a topic and you become more researched on that topic. And that is a skill that is so important to develop, especially in today's society when there's AI that basically does that in the matter of seconds, right? And there's this quote that I would like to share from the 2011 Forbes magazine, which was written by Tom Gills. And the quote says, in the coming decades, success will be defined by the ability to understand the complex problems that customers face and the ability to solve these problems elegantly. Technology development is important, as is finance, manufacturing, and distribution, but these areas are not core competencies for the industry leaders. The next billion-dollar company will be run by history majors who are skilled in wading through a massive jumble of facts and who have the ability to distill these facts down to a clear set of objectives that a global team can fulfill. Great companies of tomorrow will not be defined by products that are better, faster, and cheaper, but by products that are smarter. I believe this quote was ahead of its time because the author is clearly saying that yes, technology is important, but at the end of the day, what makes you so valuable as an individual is your critical thinking skills. In fact, your critical thinking skills express your individuality. And in today's society, I don't believe that's something to look down on. So, the next reason why I believe your degree holds more value than you may think is because a degree can lead you to another career path. So, society tells us that when we go to school and after we graduate, we're just limited to one career path. And this career path would help us to get a good paying job, so much so that we get paid all our lives, we work before we retire. Because of this, we end up seeing the world in a one-dimensional way. We believe that we have only one career path and that's final. We don't really take into account the endless possibilities of career paths that we can take. The idea that you need to choose one career path in your entire life is a narrative that I reject completely. The idea that you can predict the future by choosing one career path that's going to work for you is not really rooted in an abundance mindset. In fact, it is rooted in a scarcity mindset. Because guess what? As human beings, we are going to make mistakes. We have different paths, career paths that we can take. And we end up realizing that some of the expectations that we had when we were younger, the older we get, we end up realizing that life happens and our expectations are not met. But does that mean we give up? No, because better opportunities present themselves in our lives. And it helps us to understand that these are opportunities that never in our lives we would have imagined were possible for us. And that's the beauty of the human experience. So just getting one career path is something that I don't really believe in. So let's say, for example, you majored in economics in university. You graduated, and all your life you were told, okay, after you get this economics degree, there's only one path for you, and that is to get a job in the financial sector. But maybe after graduating, you apply for different financial jobs, whether it's a consulting job in finance or accounting job. You apply, and you don't really see results. However, when you start to look at the world with an abundance mindset, with the idea that you have different career possibilities, you may start to think, okay, rather than just limiting myself to just applying for a job in the financial sector, maybe you start to find interest in writing a book where you get to incorporate your economic background into the book and you should give financial management tips in your book. And who knows, after you write that book, it could become successful and it resonates with people. Or maybe you decide to take the content creation route. And in this content creation company or business that you establish for yourself, you learn to share your economic insights about different economic situations happening around the world. And that ends up resonating with people, right? So this is just to give the example that there are so many possibilities of career paths that you can take. You don't have to limit yourself to just one, right? And to help support my points, I would like to look at this study that was conducted by Forbes magazine in 2024. So Forbes highlighted in a study that was conducted by the Resume Now in 2024, where they surveyed about 1,000 workers who either came from the UK, from Germany, from France, or the US. And these workers were asked whether they had any career regrets, and if so, what were these career regrets? Interestingly, study results showed that 66% of workers who came from different generations had career regrets. And these workers who came from different generations included workers that belong to, let's say, the millennial generation, Gen X, Gen Z, right? And also, what I found very interesting is that about the majority of workers who had career regrets were millennials and Gen X by 70% to 69%, respectively, right? So, what were some of their top regrets? Well, according to the study, what I really found fascinating is among these top regrets, 53% of participants regretted not getting a college degree. 50% regretted being in their chosen career, and 49% regretted not pursuing an advanced degree. So while society wants you to view that your degree may not hold any value, studies show that people from older generations regret not pursuing an advanced degree or being stuck in one career path all their life. So the next reason why I believe your degree is more valuable than you think is because at the end of the day, education is a privilege. In 2025, the World Population Review reported that about 780 million adults around the world are illiterate, which is the inability to read and write. And among this group, 66% are women. Interestingly, the majority of countries with the lowest literacy rates are located in sub-Saharan Africa, West Asia, and South Asia. Also, UNESCO reported in 2023 that 272 million children and teenagers around the world don't have access to education, and the majority of them are located in sub Saharan Africa. So, why am I presenting this data? The reason is that sometimes we tend to be focused on our problems, right? The fact that after graduating, we can get a job, or we have anxiety because of the rise of AI and the possibility that AI could replace the majority of entry level jobs in the future. And while those feelings of anxiety and worry about our future career are extremely valid, when we zoom out of our problems and we take into account the world around us, we realize that millions of people don't even have that basic right of education. They don't have that right to go to school and study in peace and graduate, right? To be honest, graduating and getting a degree, it's like a luxury, because when we go to school, we graduate and we also learn how to better advocate for our needs. But for millions of people around the world, it's not their reality, right? For millions of people, they don't have access to education, and it could be due to political reasons such as political violence or poverty or societal pressures to get married young, especially among young women. And there's just so much more, right? So, yeah, when I go through situations where I sometimes question whether going to school was worth it, because it's really hard to get a job in the labor market, when I really take into account just the fact that just education is a privilege, it allows me to have more gratitude and see the world differently. The next benefit of pursuing an education and getting a degree is that, honestly, a degree helps you to become disciplined and organized. So, something magical happens when you go to school for so many years, right? What ends up happening over time is that because you are taught to submit assignments on time and you're taught to develop a study routine to help you get better grades in school and avoid procrastination, what ends up happening over time is that you learn the skill of discipline, time management, and organizational skills, right? And these are skills that end up being ingrained in you forever, even after you graduate, right? When you're in school, you have to find a study system that works for you, that you can implement every time. Let's say you have to study for an exam, or you have an assignment that's due, maybe that's an essay, or so much more, or maybe a group assignment, right? And based on my 6 years of experience pursuing advanced education and also graduating with a master's degree in public policy in 2025, I can honestly tell you that getting a degree changed my life. In fact, before I pursued advanced education, I was extremely disorganized. I had such a poor sense of time management. I was failing my exams. I had really poor grades. And I just lacked discipline, to be very transparent with you. But when I pursued advanced education, not only did I learn to become more organized and disciplined, but I also became one of the top academic performers in the program I was enrolled in at university, right? Some of the skills that I developed, which were discipline, time management, organization, are skills that are still ingrained in me till this day. And these are skills that I can implement in personal projects that I'm pursuing currently, such as my YouTube channel. So, what some of you may not know is that before I even get to post a video, I have to take between a week or two to do some to come up with a topic idea, to research the topic that I want to talk about in a video, come up with a compelling script to write. I also have to do some video editing and, yeah, just share the video. And that takes me so much time. but I'm very passionate about it. And the thing is, the skills that I developed in school are skills that I implement today, which is the skill of being disciplined, managing my time to make sure that I'm able to share video, um, maybe consistently, or I'm trying to at least. And these are skills, honestly, I don't think I would have been able to develop had I not gone to school and gotten my degrees. The final reason why I believe your degree is more valuable than you think is that a degree helps you to enhance your communication skills. The art of articulating your thoughts is a superpower, and this is a skill that you develop in school. In fact, in 2024, the Altera Institute reported that education helps you to communicate your thoughts with confidence in front of a public audience. The more you practice, the more you get better at doing some public speaking. And pursuing a degree, it honestly helps you to practice public speaking because you're required to do oral presentations all the time. And if you're an introvert like me and used to be shy, honestly, it's scary, but it is a skill that is revolutionary. In fact, in grad school, I remember we were required to do oral presentations solo for like 20 to 25 minutes. And that's the longest I've ever spoken in front of a public audience in person. And in the beginning, it terrified the crap out of me. But I'm very grateful I was able to have those experiences because it really helped me to improve my communication skills. I still have a long way to go, but at least I had that experience, right? So when you go to school and you pursue an advanced degree, like you are really, it's like you're being pushed into the waters to test your ability to communicate in public. And not only are you learning how to communicate to a public audience, but you're also learning how to communicate your thoughts in a concise way. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I'm so glad you're here. Even if it feels like you completed a degree and you've been looking for a job and it's been maybe 6 months, a year, or more than that, and you feel like a failure, I'm here to tell you that that couldn't be further from the truth. The fact that you completed a degree is an accomplishment in and of itself. You're so intelligent and you have everything it takes to succeed. Look at your degree as a stepping stone that will take you to the next chapter of your life. And who made up this rule that pursuing a degree that doesn't align with your career path is something to look down on? What makes you so unique is that you have so many possibilities of career paths that you can take, and you're not just limited to one path, right? So please don't let companies dismiss the efforts you've made to getting a degree, and I urge you to live your life with intentionality. Maybe that can look like pursuing your passion or upskilling. Again, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and this channel continues to grow day by day, and it's all because of your support. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I'll see you in the next one.